Hi there and welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today I will talk about how if you think you're a person that you're purely logical, if you make your decisions purely on rationality or intelligence, then you are probably one of the most easily manipulatable people on the planet. I know I get a lot of flack when I say that, but stick with me and you'll realize why. So Western society is a bit obsessed with logic, and I chalk that up to our history of colonization, where the white civilized man is superior to the savage indigenous people because we possess modern intelligence and scientific knowledge, right? But imagine you arrive on a strange land filled with resources, and it's already populated by people who live in harmony with nature. You want to take that land, take those resources, so logically, you're going to have to invent a reason why you can or should do that. And what better reason than the colonial classics? We are better than you and therefore more deserving. You are wasting all of this, so dominating you is actually the greater good. Or even, God promised this to us in our religious book. And then, in order to enact the plundering of land and nature, you have to sever the inherent human connection that we have to it. It's essentially impossible to harm something that you identify with, so the separation of man and nature becomes necessary. We suppressed our inherent connection with the oneness of all life on Earth for the sake of economic profit and maximized growth. And this mentality brought the whole world to its knees in a few centuries. How powerful we are, how dominating. The line of thinking for this video is brought to you by my experience living in both colonized and non-colonized countries, the contrast that the two presented, and this incredible book by Dr. Iain McGilchrist, which is called The Master and His Emissary: The Divided Brain and the Making of the Western World. In this book, Dr. McGilchrist explains the foundational misconceptions that we have about the human brain, many of which are based on reductionist and simplified thinking. The general consensus is that the left brain is logical and rational, and the right brain is creative and emotional. This is a wild simplification of the truth. According to Dr. McGilchrist, the left hemisphere is associated with doing. It is linear, categorical, explicit, and procedural. The root of its attention is small, easily graspable tasks that you can be exclusively focused on. It likes to follow rules and guidelines, being stuck to what the system allows, since its interest is retaining power and control. It is not devoid of emotion like we like to think, but it's actually responsible for the intense emotions such as anger, disgust, and contempt. Pair this intensity with its focus on power and control, and the left hemisphere is quite prone to delusion, easily taking over with the certainty that their limited view of things is correct beyond reproach. Does this sound familiar? Does it remind you of something or someone? This is the preferred hemisphere of the colonial mindset and the foundation that build modern Western societies. Meanwhile, the right hemisphere of the brain is not just emotion and creativity, it is related to being. The root of its attention is broad, sustained vigilance. Because it attends to the world and is trying to make sense of the big picture, it perceives better in almost all modalities. It has better judgment, greater intelligence, increased social, cognitive, and obviously emotional quotients. My favorite tidbit about the right hemisphere is that it's the devil's advocate. It steps back from the situation and asks, what if? So we have two different but united hemispheres, which fits nature's many binary qualities. We have the magnetic polarities of positive and negative. We have on and off, opened and closed, yin and yang, feminine and masculine. Inhale and exhale. The whole of life operates from the balance between polarities. Because of this polarity, each hemisphere of our brain displays inhibitory action with its counterpart. When one side is activated, the other gets inhibited. If one side is activated for too long, the other gets inhibited for that same amount of time. And if you are permanently stuck on one mode of thinking, either by environmental conditions or conscious rejections, odds are you will shut yourself off from the skills and benefits of the other. Do that for long enough, and your brain's neuronal connections solidify imbalance as the standard. You become limited to a one-sided perspective, brain-wise. So let's think about emotions for a second. What are they? What kind of mechanism automatically creates a biological reaction in your body when you experience something that is joyful, fearful, or life-threatening? The answer is your body's inherent intelligence. The knowledge stored in your genes, which has been shaped for millions of years of evolution between our species, our environment, and everything that came before us. Your emotions are your biology's way of telling you something that your ancestors learned from experience, and that's an incredibly powerful teacher. So, evolution and all its wisdom tied our brain decision-making process to this inherent knowledge, and our emotions can play 4 roles there. One is providing information. Positive versus negative emotions show us how we truly feel about our options. Pretty difficult to choose something that gives you a bad vibe. 2, it improves the speed of your decision making. I'm sure we've all experienced hunger, anger, and fear's capacity for reactive decisions. They can override anything. Number 3 is assessing relevance. People's different circumstances and life history lead to different emotions regarding decisions, but two that inform relevance are regret and disappointment. Regret is a surefire way you never make that mistake again. And 4 is enhancing commitment. How powerfully do we hold onto decisions based on guilt or love? There isn't a single scientific or rational fact that will convince you a decision based on love was wrong. And this is what our Western obsession with logic and rationality end up suppressing, on top of everything else that's associated with the right hemisphere of the brain. Our psychological signals, historical programming, and the emotions that they evoke, they unconsciously guide us more than we know, whether we like it or not. And because of this, if you believe that you're not an emotional person but purely a logical one, you are then extra susceptible to manipulators that play on emotion. And that's all of them. All they need to do is sell you on something that makes you feel intelligent or that has a rational framework. Bonus points if the words, "only someone stupid would say no to this," comes into play. So make sure to exercise your imagination, your creativity. Start feeling your feelings and your emotions and noticing your intuition. Attend to the world around you. Sit with nature for a bit. Read some poetry and watch some stand-up comedy. Practice catching yourself in your certainties and asking, what if this is not so? Integrate the inherent intelligence of your biological body in a modern world that demands that you reject it, and skyrocket your human experience on this miraculous planet. Heck, you might even reconnect with the oneness of all things and kind of figure out what we're meant to be doing here. At least, that's what happened for me. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end, and I hope it gave you some clarity on some things and that you exercise both sides of your brain. Make sure that integration is there, and I promise you, you will understand things deeper and basically be impermeable to anyone trying to play with either your rationality or your emotions. I hope you have a wonderful day, and leave any comments if you have any stories or experiences. I would love to hear from you. See you on the next video.